All right, well, hello, good morning, everybody. I just want to thank you all for coming and just start really quickly by thanking, I have 3 families that are here represented. First of all, I want to thank my wife, my young child, Benicio. I want to thank my Back USA family for coming and supporting me. And then, thank you, everybody. And then I also have my young audience's family here as well, who's here representing, so thank you very much for coming. I wanted to start by telling a story, and in order to do so, I want to give you just a little bit of context to let you know a little bit about my background, what influenced me, what brought me here, what made me who I am. And really, I kind of have a pretty unconventional path, and everybody knows that throughout your life, you're somewhat a product of your own environment, right? To some degree, we're affected, we're influenced, we're made, we're almost programmed by the things that happen in our childhood. So things like mannerisms, body language, your accent, your palate, you know, all of the things are either carried on as traditions, they're chosen to be a normal habit, a part of your life, or you do the complete opposite. And some of these you just completely run away from. You really just don't want them in your life anymore, you're scared by them, it doesn't feel the same, so we'll talk a little bit about that. For me, the why not perspective is really an attitude and a belief that was introduced to me by my father. My father, when he was 17, with $20 in a backpack, decided to leave South America, Chile to be exact, and just move to Europe. And he spent time in Italy, he spent time in France, he spent time in Sweden, in Germany, and then ended up in Spain. So his adventurous spirit has been an infectious kind of component of my life and has really helped me be fearless and really in the pursuit of different adventures and challenges. This is a really key element to be confident in yourself and to dive into things without the need of certainty, you know? So taking a look just geographically, going from South America to go all the way up to Europe, to be all over the place, and then somehow we ended up here in 1982. Don't ask me how that happened. If you really want to know, you can ask me afterwards. I'll give you more details. But the reality is there was jobs, there was opportunity. He came here and started a life, spent 30 years at General Motors, retired recently, and has made a phenomenal life for myself and the rest of our family. So really a perspective that I have always held is the aspect of wondering how things are made, wondering how they work, wondering how to take them apart. So even before I was an engineer, I was thinking about reverse engineering, and not necessarily electronic components, but reverse engineering ideas and concepts and beliefs. So how do you improve things? You have to analyze them, you have to look at them, you have to compare them to alternatives, and then you grow, you evolve, your understanding allows you to make things better. So for me, there are a few phases of curiosity that have really influenced my approach and the use of kind of this mentality. The first really is being unaware. So the first stage of curiosity, you really just don't know enough to know what you're missing. With the lack of awareness, you cannot make an educated decision. So you have to be comfortable throwing yourself into the mix. You have to be comfortable putting yourself into challenges and environments that are just not your native environment. And the second stage, once you get into something, you do it for a while, many of us, at least myself, quickly get bored. And you simply don't feel challenged anymore. And what do you do at that stage? How do you react when you're bored and when you don't feel challenged and you need something else? Something, you're looking for a stimuli and you just can't find it. So interest at that point starts leading to inquiry, which is actually one of the definitions of curiosity. And you really start to wonder, what is my next step? And you start asking these questions, and in life there are so many unanswered questions, right? We have the who, the what, the when, the where, the why. And for me, the why is kind of the most important. It's the one that really stands out. In my background, I have a very diverse background, and it's kind of led me to this place where the influences, cultures, exposure to different industries, different management styles have all helped mold me into the person that I am. They've all helped me build this toolbox, this toolkit that really empowers me to be comfortable in these varied situations. So why not? Why not do something? Why not try something? Why not do that extra thing? Why not volunteer? Why not change jobs? Why are things done a specific way? Why does it have to only be done one way? For those of us who work in technology, you all know you can do the same thing 5, 10, 15 different ways sometimes. So don't always stick to a linear path just because you think that's traditional, that's the way it's always been done. There's always another way to try something. So keep that in mind. Why fear change, right? We all have that phobia of uncertainty. Well, what am I leading myself into? What is this challenge going to bring? Am I ready for it? Am I capable of handling what's in front of me? And that's sometimes a tough question to answer. And then the real question that I very often ask myself is, why am I doing this? What is it about this that fuels me? What is it that makes this fulfilling? And those are things that you might know the answer to, and even when you do, you better recheck that in a year or 6 months down the road, because there's a chance that things have changed. Your perspective changes. How important it is, how fulfilling it is, can change over time. So this is not a question you ask once in life. These are questions you ask continuously, and these are the things that help you identify what is it that I enjoy, and why do I not enjoy something anymore? You know, I've been doing this for 10 years, and I just don't find it fun anymore. I don't have that same feeling. What do you do at that point? How do you handle that? For me, it's hitting the brakes and then asking this question: why not explore a different direction? Why not take it a completely different angle, something unorthodox, something unexpected? And in order to do that, you have to put yourself into unique environments. You have to introduce yourself to people that are not like you. You have to be in these dynamic environments, and it's absolutely necessary. So I'm asking these questions, and like most of us, coming up on high school graduation. Now, like most of us, my motivation was not necessarily focused and directed. So what are the motivators when you get out of high school? What are you trying to do? Okay, I want to get money. I want to be successful. I want to have a job. I want to have a big house. I want to have a car. Money motivated, which many of us are at that stage in life because we really don't know what we're looking for. We're not really keen on that sense of purpose yet. So at this stage, I'm like, okay, so I want money. I want success. Maybe I should be a businessman. So I'll go to business school and I'll give this a shot, right? So I end up deciding in the late 90s, I'm gonna go to Niagara University and I'm gonna get there. And one of the things about me is I'm an only child from a small family, no aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents really influential in my upbringing. So really a very calm and serene and lack of chaos in my life. So when I went to business school, I was as unprepared as you could possibly be. So here's my first semester. I go to Niagara University, and this experience is great because I meet a bunch of people, I learn about myself, I mature, and I really made a lot of the biggest mistakes in my life in that short period of time. Let's just say that statement that keeps coming back to me of, you really got to fall flat on your face to learn to pick yourself up, and that was the closest I've come to falling flat on my face. So here I am, I got to recalibrate, right? My first semester, I bombed out. This was a horrendous experience. My parents are upset with me. I'm upset with myself. How do I make that next step? Okay, let's just go to community college. It's close by, but I really didn't know what else. I didn't have a motivation. I didn't have a direction. So I'm like, all right, I'll just continue business school. Let me go back. Let me try this again. So I get into business school, and I'm at NCCC. I complete my 2-year degree. I come out with good grades, and I go to University of Buffalo. I'm continuing my path at University of Buffalo. During that time, I'm working with Adecco Staffing. Adecco Staffing gives me all of these different opportunities, temp jobs in different industries and different positions with different responsibilities. And it was great because it was just like an exploration. It was a constant journey of just discovery. And then I found myself in bank jobs. So, bank jobs. I worked in a couple of banks. I spent about a year at Bank of America. I spent about 1 year at Citicorp. And then I started questioning to myself because I saw this guy in the corner. He's got long hair, a ponytail, he's got sneakers on, he's got his feet up on the desk, almost always has a smile on his face. And I'm looking around at all of these managers, all of these business people in their suits are just overworked. Many of them consider themselves underpaid, and some of them fairly miserable people. So really, is this what I want to be? Is that what I want? And I really had to ask myself, and I told myself, I'm not sure. So that's where these conversations with that guy with the ponytail and the sneakers on started. And this guy is an IT, he's doing document imaging. He's an IT professional. So 5-minute conversation turns into a 15-minute dialogue, turns into about 2 45-minute deep dives. And then something just flicked, and it just felt off. Like, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not going the right direction. How do I change this? What do I do? So here I am thinking this is not right, and I have to hit the brakes. Now, keep in mind, this is a tough decision, right? I'm in a good job. There's good benefits. There's tuition reimbursement. There's days off. I've got a career path. You know, there's opportunity for me to grow. But something still wasn't right. So here I am. I'm done. I told that guy, thank you for these conversations. I walked into my boss's office. I handed my letter of resignation, and he says to me, he's like, you know what, this is a mistake. He's like, you got a good career here. You have a good opportunity. You have a future here. So I said, you know, I really appreciate that. I respect you, and I do not want to burn this bridge. I want to leave this door open because that someday I might need to come back. But for right now, this is the decision I need to make because I am so curious about what else is out there, and I feel like I've been a horse with blinders, and I've got tunnel vision, and I'm really restricted in what I've been exposed to. And to be honest with you, I cannot see myself in a bank for 30 years. So what's next? I go into the dean's office at University of Buffalo, and I hand in my resignation letter. I'm done with this. I'm just done. I can't do this anymore. He's like, again, son, this is a mistake. This is you're so close. You're in your 4th year. You're right there. There's no reason for you to not finish. I'm like, maybe later, but right now I got to do what feels right for me. So I did it. I hit the brakes, and there's my resignation letter. So here I am, jobless, out of school. Then there's that last step of, oh, now I finally built up the confidence to tell my parents. And what do you guys think they said? So I go and I tell my parents, and again, they said, what are you, crazy? It's like, you're so close. You've gotten so far. You're absolutely crazy to hit the brakes and try to change direction. He's like, you got to be like me. You get a job, you find a career, you find that company that takes you through to your pension, and then you're good for the rest of life. And how many jobs are there like that anymore, right? I mean, what is it? The average is 15 to 20 jobs for a person who's 30 or 40 years old. It's really absurd. We're constantly redefining ourselves and redirecting ourselves, and maybe not by our choice. We're redirected by different circumstances. So I go out and I find $5,000 through the Buffalo Employment and Training Center to get certified. I take a class on A+, Net+, MCSE. Here I am now. I can rip apart computers. I had never really done anything except for take apart a Nintendo controller. So I wasn't really a computer guy. I played a lot of video games, but not really a computer guy. So I'd never seen the inside of a computer. Now I can build them. Now I can fix them. Now I can network them. Now I can do wireless. Now I can manage servers. So I go through that training program, and I found this opportunity to get a job in the IT field. In the IT field at Adelphia Communications, for those of you who remember, I was there, and then 3 weeks later, they filed for Chapter 11. So that was my starting first month. It was a really interesting experience. But the company wasn't going anywhere. There were still opportunities. It was a call center of about 500 people. Here I am at entry-level tech support. But the great part is I went through 4 weeks of training in the beginning month. And during that training, I kept going back and seeing all of the things that I'd just gotten certified in, really reinforcing the fact that I made the right choice. I went the right path. I gathered the right information. I learned what I needed to learn to be ready to hit the ground running. So within the first 8 months, I'm promoted from level 1 to level 2. By month 18, I'm a level 3 support engineer. So this is a 5-year journey, and it takes some time to kind of go through, but I'm really just working my way up the ladder. And I got to a point where I'm like, I'm really not sure what that next step is. So I start questioning, like, what are the possibilities here? What kind of projects can I take on? At the time, I went back to business school to just wrap up that loose end that I had. So I'm at Buffalo State, and I decided to do an internship at the sales and marketing department to get some exposure there. That was helpful. It was an eye-opener to learn a little bit about what they do. And then I also wanted to get exposure to other areas. So really, it was just a matter of how do I take that next step. So I did that for a number of years, and it got to the 5th year. I had moved into some management roles. I had done some training. I had some great exposure. I helped found a multilingual support team because when I looked around, there was 500 people, but there was at least 20 Spanish speakers in there. And we were paying an absurd amount of money for an interpreter line at AT&T. So I proposed a project, and I said, why don't we build our own team? So that was what allowed me to actually take on the challenge of being in a management role, being in a training role, helping form and found that team. And then in year 5, Time Warner's about to take over. And I wasn't as uncomfortable as I was in the banks, but I was not in a great place. So I had to make a change. So at that point, I moved over into recruiting. And I learned, and I learned, and I learned. I had never been in HR before, but I had this fantastic opportunity. I did hundreds of interviews over years. I wrote job descriptions. I worked with hiring managers, and all of these things led me to really grow as a professional. And one of the key elements was volunteering, because that constantly opened up opportunities for me. So volunteering, working for a nonprofit, I basically get pulled aside by the CEO in year 5. She says, hey, do you want to be a teacher? And I look at her, I'm like, wait a minute, I've never studied this, coached soccer, I've never been a teacher per se. She's like, you can do this. She's like, I've seen you teach, you would love it. I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. So I start learning about STEAM, I start learning about creating content, I start learning about all of the things that are happening in this era. This is around 2008. So there's this thing called Make Magazine and the Maker Movement and all of these interesting DIY initiatives. There's TED Talks, which are now free online. For those of you who have seen TED Talks, extremely inspirational. I highly recommend them. They are fantastic. So please go do that. And then there's Kickstarters. So Kickstarters is, for me, it's like a playground for curious people. Like you want to be involved, you want to get in at the ground level. What's the best way to do it but to help a company that's in development? Help develop that product. So I got involved with a technology called the Leap Motion Controller, and I'll have this on display afterwards. I don't want to take too much time to show it, but it's a hand sensor technology that lets me use my hands to control a computer. So I highly recommend you take a look at that technology. It's one of those things. I was curious about 3D design, manipulating virtual space. I was curious about web development, and it was kind of a continuous evolution of myself learning with these kids, teaching ourselves collectively, because I didn't know about this stuff. We were learning together. So we were curious together, and it was interesting to me how infectious that curiosity became and how it really fueled them, and it helped them find things they didn't even know they were interested in. And that passion started to come through, and it was really, really a catalyst to change. So did that for 2 years. The culture changed. Principal change, time to leave again. So I substitute teach, go to grades K through 12. I did almost every subject, did some special needs rooms, 40 buildings in Buffalo, all over the place. I tried to learn and feel and sense and touch and just be a part of all of these environments so that I could learn. Did that for some time, and at the same time I'm looking for opportunities, project management and training, and I find this company on Craigslist of all places. Short little ad. Says they're looking for somebody to do professional development for an ed tech company. I start traveling around the country, doing professional developments and teaching people about tech. That's great. Now they had an opportunity here in Buffalo. Buffalo Public Schools needed an engineer, a project manager, and a trainer, somebody to do it all, to manage deployment into schools. I started with 3 buildings. I ended up with 37 buildings, 15,000 users, about 4,000 devices scattered throughout. And I was one person working as a consultant for a company in Jersey out of City Hall. What an amazing opportunity. I really had no business there, but fake it till you make it. And I walked in there and I said, here's what I know, here's what I don't know. Just let me catch up and I will be there. And certainly it was an amazing project, but then I got laid off, right? Doing a great job, kid. Here, you're laid off. And then, oh yeah, you want 10,000 less to come back and work for us? No, thank you. That didn't feel right. So I'm all over the place. I start experimenting, start exploring. I get interested in this thing called augmented reality. AR, I found in 2013, these books that pop up, these posters that pop out of the wall. I'm amazed by them. I get them in the Buffalo Public Schools, into their library system. Every single school has 7 books and posters that are available for kids to interact with. The public library system says, hey, that's a good idea. Why don't you bring them over here as well? So now they're in the Buffalo Public Library system as well. Really cool technology, really engaging, really immersive. And there's other free ones that are out there. AR flashcards I highly recommend for anybody who's trying to teach the alphabet to kids. It's a fantastic tool. It uses augmented reality. Then there's VR. So VR finally went mainstream in 2014. For those of you who know Google Cardboard, Oculus, Vive, these development kits, the whole initiative of we're not really selling a finished product yet, but we could use your help. Let's get people involved. Let's get people working together. And because I was interested in 3D design and 3D modeling, I decided to actually prototype my own 3D printed version of an all-in-one headset. And ironically enough, I took this to Back USA to propose a project to build one of these. And when I was in the parking lot, I got approached by their VP of product to possibly go work for them. It was really ironic because he didn't even know I was in the building, right? So my curiosity led me to go talk to these guys, and guess where I met the two individuals? At CreativeMornings. There they are right in the back there, yeah? So thank you, CreativeMornings, for introducing this beautiful path for me to go ahead and kind of explore a new path. And along with that, I had exposure to an organization called Young Audiences. I was made a teaching artist, and with the help of my wife, I was kind of coached into some amazing opportunities to go work and conduct workshops and facilitate professional developments and bring 3D printing and augmented reality and virtual reality into classrooms and really develop my own curriculum. And then focus on game-based learning tools and learn about how to make learning engaging. How does learning get influenced by technology? Why does it make learning easier, better, funner? These are the questions that I'm asking now to myself. So I'm doing this teaching artist thing, but it's only part-time, so I have to find a job. Somebody at Adelphia, my former colleague, actually connected me to Yahoo, got me into Yahoo, and I spent some time there in their data center. I'm not somebody to sit around a bunch of engineers cooped up in a little box. So that lasted a little while. I did that for about 3 years, and it just didn't feel right. And I was looking for opportunities, interviewed at Facebook, interviewed at LinkedIn, interviewed at Google, possibly moving to California, didn't want to uproot my family. And then Back USA finds me. And Back USA finds me for all of the side gigs, all of my moonlighting efforts, all of the projects I'm doing in emerging tech, my experience and my background in the classroom, my experience as a tech coordinator, and it really kind of all came together. And honestly, now I get the chance to do all of these amazing things, rapid prototyping. It's a social enterprise. It's honestly the first place I can ever say this could be my career. So my curiosity has led me on this extremely diverse path through all of these different loops and turns and twists and going backwards, and I ended up in the place I'm supposed to be. Maybe not forever, but for right now, it sure feels right. So I encourage you all to stay fueled by curiosity, to allow these things to influence you, and to carry you into new adventures and new pursuits every day. Thank you, everybody.